Peter. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I just gotta quickly say thank you. I'm really, really honored to be on this podcast. You got me actually by surprise when you sent me a message, and I think I was in the middle of something at work, and I was like, "Oh man, someone's requesting a podcast." That was the highlight of the day, And I was like, that's so much, that feels good. At the same time, it lets me know that the work that I'm doing is getting out there. Like there's people listening, there's people watching, and that's a good feeling to have. So yeah, so I definitely appreciate you having me on here. I did have to relocate the time, and I apologize for that. And if I can quickly say why I think it was just important, as a single father and as a Chicano father, when you're dealing with your children's school stuff, you want to do everything that you can, because you remember that when you were growing up, my parents never did that. They were like, they didn't, first of all, they didn't know how to read English. I was the one translating for them. And, and now that I'm a parent, and now that my daughter has been accepted to a visual arts school, I was just
Oh,
trying
nice.
everything to make sure that I had everything in order. Because what it was a conference for registration to register to the school. And I was just trying to get all the information I can, writing notes, getting time dates, and that's why I was like, I don't want to cut this conference short, and I didn't want to keep you waiting, so that's why I asked to relocate it. But one of the important things, and I think this has to do with what I'm trying to do in my platform, is recognizing the struggles that the Chicano community or Chicana community has to go through. And one of the things that I noticed while I was there in that conference is just the the not, I wouldn't say racial difference, but just the number of racial percentage that I noticed. The highest number obviously being white Caucasian, and then the others were either Asian or Indian. And I thought, wow, I don't see very many Mexican or Chicano students. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to have a talk with my daughter, and have her understand that she's gonna have to, step up, and she's not gonna have most of her friends around her, so she's gonna have to adapt to it. So those are things that you as a Chicano and Mexican parents, they go through. We go through this, and we don't talk about it much because sometimes we're either embarrassed, or we don't know the ins and outs. But that's part of the platform, that what I do in that platform is to try to help people and educate them in things like that. So that's pretty much something I can add to my platform, to talk about when I do lives or so forth. But yeah, that's definitely eye opener.
So you were in it was like a large conference with other parents that have their children into the school as well?
Yeah, it was actually, I shouldn't say conference, but it was more like an orientation,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's
Gotcha.
actually
Yeah.
at the multi-purpose room, and you're there, and there's all these parents,
Oh,
and I
wow.
just looked
Okay.
around, and I was like,
Yeah.
wow, dude, I don't see any any Mexicans or Chicanos. I'm like, crap, my daughter. I'm like
Yeah.
thinking for my daughter, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to prep her. I'm gonna have to pump her up, and she has to also understand that um, she is deserves to be there just as much as anyone else that's there too. And
Absolutely.
I'm sure she's gonna have to go through some of her tribulations, and people, all that stuff. But um, I just noticed that I have to mentally prepare her for it, and that's something that I didn't think I had to do. until now. But it's a good thing at the same time because she got accepted to this high school. You got to have good grades. You got to have a pursue of the arts to get into this school, and she got accepted. So I was very happy.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that one.
Thank you, thank you,
Proud parent moment, right?
It is. It is a proud parent moment. And I think, like I said, I think for a lot of us Chicanos and Chicanas, things like this matter. Things like this are important. I mean, I'm not sure about your parents or if you're a parent, but I just know that these kind of things, when they do happen, we need to just take it in and appreciate and be thankful, but at the same time understand that we deserve to be there or deserve to have these moments, because we're just as smart, as intelligent, and as driven, ambition driven as anyone else. We just we just come from a different culture, and sometimes unfortunately that culture can be a little bit I don't know how you say it. Our culture has its bad things and its good things, but sometimes the bad things is what keeps us from trying to rise up, right?
Right.
So yeah.
Right. So, in a little synopsis, Chicano Chicana state of mind. Where did you come up with that? Like, what was your driving force into your platform?
So the driving force was early on when Facebook and Instagram started. We are all into whether we like to admit it or not. A lot of us just get into social media and just start, getting involved and we sometimes we want to look up stuff and so when Instagram started growing a lot more and started getting really popular, I started looking for platforms that had to deal with our culture and our identity and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'm sure there is enough because there's just a lot of us. I'm sure there's plenty. And when I started just searching, I wouldn't find that grasp of real culture, of real Chicano history or Chicano, things that really have to do with the Chicano community. I did find platforms, but it wasn't like in the mind of the identity. It wasn't in the mind of history. It was more like girls showing this or girls doing that, and guys just not really necessarily having to do with the culture. So when I was thinking, I was like, man, it's got to be in a state of mind where we're just thinking about the Chicano community. And so when I said that, I was like, wait a minute, why don't I just start my own platform and just work towards that and just focus. Having a state of mind is what I kept saying. Having a state of mind of Chicanismo, of culture, identity, history, and everything that has to do with culture with the Chicano, but as well as little bit of this, little bit of brown identity, little bit of Latino or Latinx, or not necessarily be how do you say exclusive? Is that the word I'm trying to say? Where you just don't want anyone else. I was trying to also be inclusive at the same time. Right. Let other platforms have their say and be part of it. But in the perfect mentality was for me to just have that state of mind as Chicano. What is a Chicano? Or what do I want to promote in this platform? And that's how I came up with the name. I know it was long, and I was like, people are gonna have a hard time searching for it.
Absolutely not. I mean, it sticks with you, and it goes straight to the point. I mean, it's right there in the name, Chicano Chicana state of mind. Like you're that's what you're thinking, right? That's
right.
the culture
exactly.
that you will bring into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the history, like the history of Chicanismo? Like, how did that start? I know during the big boom of like identity in the 1960s, I'm pretty sure that it I guess arose from all those different types of subcultures
Right.
being integrated into normal society.
I think Chicanismo goes further back, but it
Further than that,
wasn't.
okay,
Yeah, but it wasn't into the '60s when it started, when it really, really was being
okay,
aggressive in its form that it
okay.
wanted
Well,
to be
you could
heard.
take me back, take me back
Well,
to the beginning. I
no,
love history.
and I would, and I'm
Hmm.
not saying that I don't know everything or I do know it. I would. I'm just starting to tap into that history before it. Um, and
Gotcha.
the way I started with it is the growing of cities in Southern California and other parts of the United States that had, that predominantly Hispanic communities, and
Yeah.
that's when I started reading about the history of Los Angeles and how Chicano communities were growing and what struggles they were going through. And I mean, I just barely tapped into it. And so the
Oh,
furthest I
gotcha.
got was right now is the Zoot Suit riots and the Zoot Suit history and how it
Okay.
started and how Chicanos were going through that era. And then right after it is when the '60s were coming, and they formed the Brown Berets, and they formed.
Yeah.
That's when they were starting to go more into colleges and started actually getting into academics and started
Yeah.
growing in a sense that they had an identity. You know what I'm saying? So that's and it's grown, but it hasn't grown as one would like it. And not only that, the disunity is far greater than it was back then. Now, because in the way I'm thinking, in my opinion and perspective, is a lot of the Chicano has kind of drifted away into a assimilation, which is, I'm not saying it's bad, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that it kind of drifted away from the core of what they were trying to do.
Gotcha. It starts steering away from the core values.
Exactly, exactly. That's the way I see it. Yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I just read just a little bit about the history, and it did derive from the Zoot Suit riots, the Pachucos,
right,
back in those times during World War II, right? It was during
right.
like
Yeah,
the early 40s.
yeah,
Yeah, such a wild time. And even
yes,
the word Pachuco was I guess like a negative term
right,
that some people I mean felt that it was like a negative term
right.
to call them Pachucos.
Yeah, yeah. You're right in that sense. A lot of some parts of the communities, it's the same way that my parents looked at we call now cholos. Is the
Oh,
same way
okay.
those parents looked at pachucos because they saw it as a
Gotcha.
rebellious, saw it as a trend, but it was a rebellious trend. But in reality, it was a rebellious trend. It was rebellious, but it was also a form of identity. It was a form
Gotcha.
of culture and style, but it wasn't really accepted by that generation. It was growing by the new generation. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the same thing. I wouldn't say the same. I don't want to compare, but it's the same kind of mentality that parents have now towards cholos, in which cholos is a whole different culture, and also is I'm not gonna say it's good culture or a bad culture because it has both. I'm just saying
Right.
it's also another culture that parents don't widely accept, right? Because of the negative connotations that it comes with, right? You know, the gang life and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
don't
but
think
that's definitely what Pachuco's.
I don't think any I guess current like older generation will accept any new subculture that comes out from the time because they might think
Yeah,
it's rebellious, right?
you're right, right. Yeah, I think it's just, I'm sure when our kids grow up, they're gonna see something that they're not gonna, and I'm like, because it just, I think it's just society in a way how it just, turns out. But yeah, I think you're right in that sense. Yes.
Yeah. The history of Los Angeles. I'm just like you. I'm barely tapping into uh, even my friend the other day. She mentioned something about Dodger Stadium and Cesar Chavez Boulevard or the surround the it was the surrounding cities. I'm sorry, not
Right.
the surrounding like base the Dodger Stadium area before Dodger Stadium
Right.
was built. I
Yes.
mean, I didn't get a chance to actually go full force into this,
Uh
but
huh.
it was kind of interesting that she was saying
Yes.
about this whole thing. I mean, I'm a Dodger fan. I love the
Right.
Dodgers. You know, I go to
Right.
games. I go
Right.
to games every year, and just to
Right.
hear the different history behind that is just it's at first like it's heartbreaking, but then I mean again it's just totally different. Like you
Yeah.
wouldn't even begin to think about that, and you start thinking
Right.
about what about other stadiums? What about other buildings
Yeah.
that have had
Exactly.
a moved
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. Definitely. And I remember the first time I read about that. I mean, I was already a Dodger fan.
Hmm.
I grew up in Orange County, but I would still go to Dodger games,
Oh, okay.
and so I started reading about the history because I saw a special about the Dodgers on Netflix one time, and they touched in a little bit about what happened with Dodger Stadium. That's when I started investigating more, and sure enough, that's what happened. The communities that were there had been kicked out so that they can build the stadium. And the way they went about it was very sneaky and very, very just uh, kind of money grabbing, kind of greedy kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Um, but to me, this is the way I see it as I'm still a Dodger fan, but I'm not gonna deny the history or ignore it. I'm gonna accept it and I'm gonna go forward with it. I can still be a Dodger fan, but I do know the history and I do accept it, and I do will support for people who want to recognize and say, you know what, the Dodgers need to recognize, or the Dodgers need to do some kind of, whatever they need to do to, to help the community or do something with the community. Then I'm not saying it's going to fix, the heartbreaking trauma that those people went through. But what I am saying is that there is a way to bring about, I guess I wouldn't say a solution, but bring
Yeah.
about the community, So
Yeah.
if you're still a Dodgers fan, that's okay,
Yeah, of
you know?
course. Yeah. I mean anything, everything has a different history behind
Right.
it. You know,
Yes.
just like you said, you you can still like it. You can still you might not disagree, you might agree with it or you might disagree with it, but then again, it's history. There's nothing you can change that has happened. The only thing you can do is move forward.
Right. Exactly.
So for
Exactly.
some, I pulled it up right now. So the land on which the Dodgers would build their new Los Angeles stadium was once the home of the Latino neighborhoods of Chavez Ravine. In the 1950s, Los Angeles officials forced the working class homeowners out of their residences and off their land using eminent domain. Eminent domain.
Yes.
So it was like in the 1950s. Of course, they
Yeah.
it took about like 13 years because they got here in they started playing for LA in like 1963 or 1964 or
Right.
something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Eminent domain. I wonder what that means. So, eminent domain refers to the power of the government to take private property and convert it into public use. The Fifth Amendment provides that the government may only exercise this power if they provide just compensation to the property owners. So you're like forcing people out.
Yeah.
And basically that's what it is. The government's coming in, okay, this is our land and we're going to evict you off of this land.
Yeah.
So
That's
wild.
exactly what happened. Yeah. And if you go into the images, the history of how that, you can see how they're bulldozing the houses with people still in them. How they're taking people out of their houses, they're dragging them out of their houses. I mean, the images are there. It's just, you're like, if you never knew about the history, you're just like, wow, I had no idea that happened,
Yeah.
And you're just taken back,
Yeah.
It's just how quickly, history can be either shoved away or just, like, okay, forgotten, It's just like that. It's just crazy though.
Yeah, where that first like idea or that the history of the LA Dodger Stadium came to mind, I seen a painting that Judy Vaca she painted, and I just seen her. She had like a showcase at the. I think it's called I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but I got to look it up again. But at the Mula Art Center in Long Beach, I think that's what it was.
Oh,
I'm gonna
I
look
think
at it
you're
right now.
right. I think it's Mula or
Mola, right?
Mola or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
I myself don't know. It's okay.
right?
Yeah.
I seen that painting and I was just like, whoa, is that Dodger Stadium? And yeah, my girlfriend, she was like, yeah, that's Dodger Stadium. And then she started telling me like, the government came in and pushed all these people out. I was just like, whoa, no way. Like I was like, whoa, like I was struck by that.
Yeah.
It was just, yeah. But Judy Vaca's art is just immaculate. If you have a chance to head over there, it's really cool.
I heard about her. She is fascinating. Yeah.
She has this room in the back where it's like video playing, and they did like the whole Los Angeles riverbed painting that crossed like miles and miles and miles. Like it's a huge mural. She's a muralist. Awesome. She has some awesome stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, I need to check that out.
Yeah, I encourage everybody to go check that out. And then she has like all these different like ancestry cultural kind of art that just taps in to Latin American history. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, or to Chicano history, but she has some great stuff. That Dodger Stadium painting is wild.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, that's something that I think everyone who lives in Los Angeles should go and check it out. I mean, from what I heard, her art is fabulous. It's beautiful. Very gifted, talented artist.
Yeah, I posted some of that stuff on my page, and everybody was just like, "Whoa! Like, where's this stuff?" So it's the Museum of Latin American Art. So MOLA, MOL.
Oh, okay, MOLA.
AA. So Museum of American Art in Long Beach.
You know what? Let me write that down because I definitely want to. Yeah. And this is in LA, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's Long Beach.
Long Beach. Oh, Long Beach.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Alamedos Avenue, Museum of Latin American Art.
Okay.
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
I think it's free on Sundays. But if
Oh,
it's not,
okay.
yeah, if it's not Sunday, I believe it's like $10 a ticket.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, it's almost the price of a gallon of gas, right?
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh! Yeah, basically, yeah. It's so funny now that we're gonna start comparing different prices to the
right.
hiking gas
To a gallon
prices.
of gas. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend in New Jersey, and she said that her gallon of gas was like $6, and I was just like, "Whoa, that's actually really good." She was complaining about like $5, $6, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's nothing compared to California."
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true, man. But
Right?
what can you do? I mean, it's not like you're gonna just say, "Okay, I'm gonna walk now," because we're
Yeah, I'm gonna
just so
walk
used to just, yeah,
the good old
we're just so used to
Chevrolets.
driving.
Right.
Hey, there you
Yeah.
go.
Right, and then if you're like I get it if you're in downtown Los Angeles and you have the ability or the capability to walk down it. Sometimes it's just hard. Like that's I mean it's not normal in
Right.
today's society.
Yeah.
I mean everybody
Yeah.
drives.
Everybody
Everybody
drives. I
drives.
mean, yeah.
Like electric
That's just
cars
the
are
way.
coming out too. So
Uh
it's
huh.
I don't know. I'm thinking about getting a hybrid. Who knows?
But you know what? I have my cousin owns a hybrid.
Hmm.
Okay, and I definitely obviously a gas saver. But he was telling me that the problem with hybrids is the batteries. They are
Okay.
so expensive.
Ooh,
I
yeah.
mean, his set of batteries almost were 10 grand just by the batteries, just the
Whoa.
batteries.
Well, how
You
many
know,
tanks of gallon of gas is that? 10,000.
I don't know.
Probably just a few now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just that, I mean, I understand and I definitely agree with changing from burning fossil fuels to changing to to what needs to be done. But somehow or some way, those car manufacturer companies are going to get their money
Yeah.
no matter what. They're
Yeah.
going to find a way.
Yeah.
So
If the
whether
cost is not going to be in fuel, it's going to be in something else. They're just moving the cost
exactly.
around.
So they're gonna find a way. So even if we try, I say, and I agree, let's try to save the planet. These companies are not. They're not thinking about that. They're thinking about how much more can we get for that. So yeah, it's definitely yeah.
So when you were growing up and how the culture is now, like is there I'm pretty sure that there's differences.
There is differences. And when I was growing up, the whole our generation, I guess I can say, wasn't what was pretty in tune with the community.
Okay.
Um, but mostly, I think what it was we just dealt with um, trauma or things in our own community. Now that there's social media, now there's just technology has brought everything closer to us. I think there's a little bit more trauma, because now you see other people's problems, you see things that are happening, you see a lot of division. That's one of the things I did notice the differences is the division
Gotcha.
within our own people, within other races, and it wasn't like that when I was growing up. There was not a lot
Hmm.
of the only this unity was obviously the gangs in your own community, because obviously it was a gang and a gang, another rival gang, of course. But as far as with other people that, just the, how I could say, the middle class, um, we all basically had the same mentality of let's go to school, get a good job, or there was a lot of watching out for each other, stuff like that. And now it's just I see a lot of division, and that
Yeah.
and that to me is a big difference that I've seen
Yeah.
while growing up in my community.
Why do you think that is? Like, is it just a generational thing, or?
I think it is. And I think a lot has to do with the media, with the social media, the
Absolutely.
the ability to communicate much faster and to be able to um, change a narrative much faster than maybe
Oh yeah.
before when the news media was doing it. Now anybody can change a narrative and have you think twice instead of just um, thinking the right way or thinking the truthful way. Instead, now you're thinking just so many other, well, you need to look at this and you need to look at that, versus the real truth, the truth behind everything. And
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot of the division. One of the things like I can point out is there was and I'm not saying it was a trend, but it looked like a trend where there was a certain time that the community was the street vendors were getting attacked, right? There was
Oh yeah.
street vendors
Oh yeah.
getting attacked, either by uh, just getting robbed or even killed. Um, that itself was like, okay, now it's being shown to you right in front of you, versus when you were growing up in your hood, you would see it in your hood, but you wouldn't see it everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, I think social media technology has a lot to do with this unity, and the fact that also there's more of me versus the
Us.
community or the people, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Like there's a lot of I want to be the leader, I want to be the one, making changes versus let's make changes for the people.
Yeah.
It's the people, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of, that also has to do with this the division.
Yeah. And instead of working together and making it about us, it's about us, but me. I'm the leader of
Yeah,
this. I deserve
yeah,
the credit. I
right,
deserve the
right,
plaque or the statue or the
right,
trophy or something.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, the intentions are good, but you in the reality you start seeing what the real truth behind is, what the person's trying to do,
Yeah.
and unfortunately that's just it is the way it is. We try, the more we try to talk to people and try to get the message across, the more it gets discombobulated, and then it just
Yeah.
you know so you're just like, okay, forget it. you know so yeah.
What type of recent work have you been up to? Like, do you? I see that you've
um
gone to events and
yeah.
um,
So one of the things I like to do the most is to go to events, to either culture events or um, lowrider events,
oh, cool.
cruises.
Okay.
So I like to take pictures. I like to go to those events and take pictures. And my main thing
You have
is,
really cool photos, by the way.
Oh, thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate
that's
that.
what drew me
It,
in. First, it was your name. It was your handle on Instagram, and then it drew me into that way. Then I started looking at all your videos and pictures. I was just like, "This is interesting.
oh,
This
thank
is
you,
awesome. This is badass." But you're telling me
thank
about
you. I
your events?
appreciate that.
No worries. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It one of the things I like to do when I'm in the events is I do appreciate the beauty of the art of the vehicles, of the cars, of them jumping, doing all sorts of the what they're built for. But the
yeah,
most important thing I think to capture is the people there. Um, just sometimes capturing a picture of them just being themselves is a story itself, and I love doing that. I love showing that picture because there's always a negative connotation with that kind of culture, that it sometimes scares people. Like it's like, oh, lowriders is just about thugs and gangsters making cars, but in reality, it's not that. It's about people putting a hard effort into creating a vehicle into art, and all the sacrifices that they do, all everything that they do for that, and just coming out to a cruise and just showing their pride in their vehicle, and you capture that, and it's like, wow, you're letting the audience know when you capture it. So those are the things I like to do when I go to those events.
I'd never thought of the lowrider culture as art. That's interesting. I've never thought of it like that. Like, of course, I thought of it like a culture, subculture.
Right.
But as far as art, that's something that I've never heard before.
Yeah, and I think it's understandable because I myself, when I was growing up, I didn't think of it as art either because I was just okay. It's a bunch of gangsters just getting their cars and just doing this and making that hop. But in reality, if you pay attention, you see the creativity that they put into it,
Yeah,
the graphic of the vehicle, the cleanliness, immaculate
yeah,
cleanliness of the vehicle, um, making it jump. Obviously, if you can make a car jump, that's good. You use hydraulics or whatever, but just the way they go about it, the engineering of it, it's a beautiful art, and I think it does need to be recognized as art, the way I see it. But um, to me, is I love capturing that. Um, but there's other things I also like to do, and the other thing I like to do is what we call is Aztec dancing, and that's a ancestral, indigenous, what our ancestors used to do back is they used to dance to the beat of a drum, and that drum was usually made out of obviously wood, but it either was made out of deer skin or it was made out of some kind of mammal skin. And when you stretch it and you put it on that drum, it makes a really loud thumping,
yeah.
and that's what they used to dance. And our ancestors used to dance to their gods or to whatever god that they used to dance for. But it it was definitely part of life, and I myself participate in it, and
Oh, okay.
it's just beautiful to be part of because you feel the beat of the drum actually on your skin. You feel it like it's calling you because it's part of you.
That's cool. Can any person do that? Do you have to go through some like process for that? Because that sounds really cool.
Um, I think it depends mostly where you live, but anybody
Okay.
can. If
Yeah.
the main thing is to respect the the culture of it
Hmm.
and to enjoy it and to just be
Yeah.
part of it. Um, I think yeah, anybody. I would say anybody.
Yeah.
Obviously, is it's dominantly uh, Hispanic
Of course. Yeah.
driven, but
Yeah.
I've seen groups where there's been blacks,
Hmm.
there's been Caucasians, there's been Filipinos. There's been all sorts of races in the circle, and
Hmm.
it's nice to see because you get the feeling that that person is appreciating your culture because they're wanting to be part of it, so
Yeah.
they'll join to be part of it. Some groups don't allow it, and but other groups
Yeah. Of course.
do,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think it's beautiful.
Yeah. You're just going. You're expressing your own interest in somebody else's culture, which is, I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Like I'm
yeah,
along with uh, barely finding out or barely researching this LA Dodger thing. I've earlier this year I did a ancestry.com DNA thing,
uh huh.
and when I got the results, I was just like, "Whoa!" So I found out that I was 80% indigenous Latin American, and my ancestors were from Guanajuato,
Oh
central Mexico.
wow,
Yeah, 80%. And
wow,
when I told my girlfriend about that, she was just like,
yeah,
at first, well, not anymore because I shaved my head, but I
right,
had like she was always on this thing about like my long uh, black, just pitch black, dark hair, and she was like, you know what, you're probably like Native American. We got to find this out for you. So
uh huh,
she sent me the link to ancestry.com, and I was sitting on this thing for months because I was just like, this is weird. I'm gonna send in my saliva, my DNA sample to the government, and to this weird, you know. It was just I was all over the place with this. I didn't know what to
yeah,
think, and I was just like, "What?" I don't know. I was just my mind was going. What if they're gonna catch me with something? I don't know. You hear all these weird stories about people
right,
sending
right,
in their stuff. So I was right there giving into all the conspiracies. But once I got over that, I finally did it, and when I got the results, I was looking at myself just in a totally different light because now I can research like my ancestors, and I can really dig deep into the
yeah,
part of the world that my bloodline is from, or my heritage is from.
yeah,
So Guanajuato, Mexico, and then I started looking up. It's a state, right?
yeah,
I'm assuming
uh-huh.
it's a state. So I started
Yeah,
looking up the
it's
museums and all they have like a museum of mummies, which is
yes, yes.
freaking
They have a
wild.
museum of mummies.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
it was malaria, or there was some type of epidemic that was
yeah,
going on, and
right.
they didn't want to bury the bodies with other because it was a virus, so it would potentially even it was still active after the person
Right.
has died. So they started having all these mass burials of people, and they started burying them very shallow graves. And I guess they went back right to dig up the bodies, and they found that the soil was so rich. The soil was so rich that it mummified all these different um, hundreds of people from Guanajuato. So
Yeah,
they dug them up and they made a museum out of them. It's so
yeah,
sad. You can look all this. You can look this stuff on YouTube, but they have videos of the museum, and it
uh-huh.
shows like it shows young children. There's women, there's men, all ages, and it's wild. Like
It
there's
is
tons
wild.
of things. Yeah, even
But
I found out like my last name is like somehow Spanish, and
uh-huh.
it's a city in Spain. Like all this crazy stuff that you would never imagine just from sending ancestry.com your saliva. Interesting.
But it's beautiful that you I think it's nice that you embraced it. I mean,
Yeah.
just the you looked up the history, you embraced it, and that's beautiful. And I'm very glad you did that. That's it was exciting just to hear you talk about that. I think the movie Coco was based out of Guanajuato because
Oh, okay.
the
Was it really?
the
Okay.
villages there are so colorful. They're so beautiful there. So
Yeah.
I do believe that the theme of the city of where that animation was made, it was based on Guanajuato.
Coco.
So,
Yeah, that was
yeah.
a good movie.
Yeah, it was. It was about time too. I mean, Disney was taking their time on that.
Yeah,
Making a movie about our history and our representation. It was nice to see. It was nice to see. I'm not gonna deny it.
yeah.
I have my little ifs about Disneyland, but seeing
Okay,
that was very very comforting in a sense.
absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was Mexico, right? And they just came
Right.
out with another movie.
Encanto.
and Encanto. That's what it's
Yeah.
called. Yeah,
And that
is
one's
that
based
based
out of Colombia.
Colombia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was another cool one. I like how, uh, same with me. I have my own thoughts and and opinions about even Pixar and Disney, but
Right.
I mean they're jumping on that train of
Right.
diversity, which we
Right.
won't deny that, but
Right. 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 No, you're right. You can't deny that. But yeah, you're right. But I think a lot of what I've seen about that movie Encanto is that a lot of people, you see these TikTok videos of these girls dressed as one of the characters from Encanto, and it's not like they even have to try a lot because the representation in that animation is right on dot because of our people are just beautiful like that, right? So you see all these TikTok users, and it's nice to see that versus what what when we were growing up, people trying to be Cinderella or whatever, but you're like, okay, well, okay, but now it's good to see that. So it's
yeah,
comforting to see that.
yeah. Where do you? What's your thing on like Halloween costumes and people dressing
You know
up?
what? Okay, so when I was growing up, Halloween was one of also was actually I liked Halloween because I liked the fact that when I was going to school, we would help decorate the teachers with Halloween stuff, right? It's just typical Halloween, pumpkins, scarecrows, whatever. So I liked it. It wasn't until I started getting into high school when I realized that right during Halloween there was a holiday that had to do with our culture. And that's when I was kind of taken back because I was like, this whole time I was trick or treating, celebrating Halloween, the American holiday or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, the culture.
Hmm.
And I had no idea that we had our own culture, same kind of concept, but a little bit different backstory behind it. So I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I started like getting into it and finding out about it. And it was just really, really comforting to know that there was such a thing and that our culture, it was in our culture. And, now I see it and it's beautiful. We participate. My daughter participates. We do photo shoots on Dia de los
Oh, cool.
Muertos. It's one of our favorite holidays. We get dressed up. We do the whole thing, everything. Get all into it. The only thing I don't really like about is when they use that culture Dia de los Muertos for Halloween because
Oh,
it
okay. I
has
see.
such a different significance and story behind it that you kind of tend to say, well, it's not a costume now, it's a culture. It's a culture thing versus if you're not familiar with the culture and you use it for Halloween, you're kind of disrespecting the culture because you're not really, and it's okay because there's people that don't know, and I understand that. I'm
Yeah.
not one that's gonna go and be like, hey, you can't, I just
Here's some water and here's some soap. Go wash your face. Go wash that blanket
yeah,
white paint off
yeah.
your face.
Yeah, I don't, I don't do that. I'm not like that. But if people ask me, then I do try to educate in what I know, in what
Yeah.
it is. But I'm okay with doing both holidays because I grew up in that. I grew up liking
Yeah,
Halloween, and now I like Dia de los Muertos because it's part of my culture. But I'll do separate both. Halloween is a Halloween, and Dia de los Muertos is Dia de los Muertos. So, that's the
yeah,
way I put it. I personally myself am not very religious. My mom would freak out about Halloween because she was very
yeah.
Catholic. So,
Okay.
but myself, I'm like, it's Halloween. It's fine. It's go dress as a ghost and go whatever. I grew up part of it, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Where do you think? Where do you think that? I'm tripping over my words here. Where do you think that, like, where the culture is now, like, in the realm of like religion or secular morality? Where do you think that that falls in line? Do you think that the culture, a few decades ago was religious versus the culture now?
I think there's a lot to learn about
Mm-hmm.
the culture still. Even though we
Okay.
embrace it, we still got to learn more about it because
Absolutely.
we got to understand that in Mexico and other parts of those countries, it's still traditional. It's still the way they do it. And it's sometimes even embedded in religion. Versus over
Gotcha.
here, you kind of just Americanized it and capitalized it and, make money off it. And, it's like all just everywhere, right? It's still nice and beautiful, but here is more about making money out of it versus over there in the original countries is traditional.
It's
Um,
tradition.
I yeah, I think what's going on is corporations are catching up. They're like, oh, well, now let's embrace the culture because it's actually making us money if we do embrace it
It's
versus
trending.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's trending versus back then we would just ignore it because it'd be like, oh my gosh, so we can't do that. That's not American.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, we can make it American because we're making money out of it, right? That's my perspective. But I think we still have a lot to learn. Religion wise, the thing with religion with me is that the more I find out, the more history I go into depth with the indigenous culture, the
Mm-hmm.
more I start questioning religion, and not because
Yeah.
I don't believe in God or I don't believe in in whatever how my mom raised me or my grandma, but I start questioning as to what really happened or what is the real truth, you know, and that is itself a whole different story to go about. It's just a whole new thing, a can of worms to open.
It is. It definitely it is. When I was doing my many reading during I mean, this is you're the perfect segue into. I'm pretty sure people have heard me talk about this book all the time, but Open Veins of Latin America.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard
It's
of that book.
it's it you talk about the history of Latin America. This book is just it was written in like the 1970s by Eduardo Galeano, and oh my god, just I was reading this book and I was just getting chills like at chapter after chapter talking about the Spanish Inquisition and all these conquistadors coming to South America and enslaving the whole all these different tribes and indigenous people to mine gold. Like they just came
Yeah,
just to mine gold, and they use them.
yeah,
They use them to mine their own land, to
right,
to take all that gold and send it back to Europe. And
yeah,
all this was done, and all the orders that these Spanish conquistadors, they were all being challenged the by the church. Like it was in the name of God that they would come
Yeah.
over and take the land and all this gold. They did it in the name of God. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's completely different. Like religion, Catholicism, and Christianity. That's all
Yeah.
Americanized. It's all
Right.
Americanized. Traditions from
Yeah.
Europe
Yeah.
and indigenous. And I love that you're looking into the indigenous culture, because that was pre Christianity, that was pre
Right.
Catholicism. Like I'm pretty sure that uh, uh, religion, Eastern, like European religion, which they did, right? They came in and tried to make everybody Christian. They try to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
everybody Catholic. Like
Yes.
forget about your your different gods and your
Yeah.
different tradition, and you now we're over here, and now you have to listen to our Bible, because your
Yeah.
stuff, that's all
Exactly.
savage, and it's
Exactly.
amazing because we learn about the history of America and what the colonists did to the Native Americans,
Hmm.
and no one really talks about what the Spanish conquistadors did to the indigenous people of South America. Like it's a whole
Right.
new other uh, history that people
Yeah.
don't really know about.
Yes. Yes. And it and I mean I think obviously it's not going to be in American history books because obviously it's over there, but
Yeah,
it's still part of history. And
absolutely.
when we go to world history or whatever, it's kind of like a small chapter or section in a chapter, and that's pretty much it. And then you go on to everything else. But the stories about that are enormously horrendous. They're just mind baffling and just like wow. And one of the things that I noticed by going and reading about the history and about finding out is that you start building this anger inside you, and you
Yeah.
start
Okay.
losing yourself, and you start just like, oh my God, I hate, religion, and you start getting lost. And a couple of times I found myself like that. So at times I have to step back and be like, okay, this happened, and this happened to our people. Let's recognize it. Let's talk about it, and let's bring awareness, and let's educate our people on it. But don't. I think one of the things that happens is that we get lost in that anger
Yeah.
because it is
Okay.
frustrating, and it does get you mad
Yeah.
when you start
Yeah.
finding out what our people really went through, and you're just like, man, how, in the word of God, in the word of the Christ or whatever, and you start like, wow, this doesn't make sense. So I'm not one to say, oh, don't follow religion, or don't go to Catholic
Yeah.
church, or don't be a Christian.
Of course not.
But
Yeah.
I am also not one to ignore the history of it. But also I gotta like I try to relate is, let's not get ourselves lost in that anger, because the anger is really, really, it builds up, and that's
Yeah.
why my platform,
Yeah.
I've had to deal with both sides of those stories,
Oh,
and
okay.
meaning that my indigenous brothers who are very active and very outspoken, I've had to bump heads with them because they see everything that way, and nothing to them about religion or um, colonizing or anything that has to do with the white race is good to them. Like it's just bad, right? So
Okay.
my perspective sometimes, I'm like, okay, I gotta hold back a little bit. Now, don't get crazy with me. All I'm doing is saying this. And I've had to battle with both sides, saying, we need to come together, not fight each other about the truth. Let's come together with the truth instead of fighting with each other. Because there's a lot of times that, oh, well, you're not telling the whole story. You've left this out. So you're actually a colonizer yourself because you're not telling the whole story. And I'm like, wait a minute, calm the hell down, okay? Relax, dude. All I'm doing is this is what I'm finding out. Blah blah blah. Okay, and obviously I have to deal with people from the other side as well as, oh well, you're just a person that hates white people, or you're a Christian hater or whatever, and that's not it. Is I'm sharing the history, the truth about religion and the two cultures, coming together, indigenous and the religion, and it's just part of owning that kind of platform, which is okay. I'm okay with. Fortunately, sometimes I don't have all the time in the world to start arguing with them, so sometimes I just block everybody, because I'm just like, look, I don't have time. I got to go to work. I got things to do, but it's all part of it. It comes with the territory of having a platform as such, and I understand. I understand now. I accept it. I know there's a responsibility, but also I'm not gonna get lost in it either. I have a life to live. I love what I do, but I also have to live my life as well, right? I have to go to work. I have responsibilities. I have a child, and so on and so forth. But yeah, we try our best to give the truth, but also try our best to be equal.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you're in the middle of things. It's not just one sided. There's two truths. There's narratives out there.
Yeah.
And you're just pretty much trying to meet in the middle. I did have some resentment towards Catholicism, Christianity, the Spanish conquistadors, even the colonizers that were in North America. I did experience that. Like there was not necessarily like a hate towards that, but of course, like I felt some type of way because it was now finding out about my ancestors and my heritage. I'm pretty sure that my ancestors had to go through that with in the 1800s, and it like I did feel that type of anger, like that, and I just had to like step back and really assess how I was feeling. Like I had to. I haven't finished the book. I was like reading really deep into it, and I'm telling you, I spent like, I want to say like 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm just like maybe about like a third of the way into the book, because every word or every piece of information that would come out of that book, I would immediately go to my laptop and research it, write my notes. When it stated different like names for different types of people within the culture, I'd write it down, and I've forgotten it all, but all my notes are in my book. But I was just super deep into it, man. I was so narrowed in on this topic, and you're right. Like you start to have feelings with what happened in the past, but that's just it. Like there's nothing you can do to change the history. You just have to move on from it and base your own thinking, your own state of mind about what has happened.
And it's you're right on it. You state of mind. If I may share really quickly, one of the things that grasped me back was that the culture that my mom was in, the religious side. My mom, she's all about being Catholic. She had all her pictures of the saints and everywhere, and I realized that there's a community of moms like her everywhere, and we can't just dismiss them because we have hate for the religion. They've been grown, they were raised that way, and we can't just dismiss that community because they don't know, and also the fact that sometimes that's all they have is their faith. So you can't just be like, okay, zoop, and I totally understand that. Um, can you hear that? Are you okay? Because
We're good.
You're good. Okay.
No, we're good. Yeah.
It's my nephew. I'm sorry. He's crying and stuff.
Keep
Yeah.
on rolling. We're good.
Okay. So yeah. So and then really quick also which is ironic, the danza community, the indigenous community of dancers, there's different groups that follow a tradition that embrace the religion together with indigenous. And
Oh, okay.
so you can't really also dismiss that because some of those groups are very traditional religion wise, and it is ironic, right? Because I myself find myself, okay, we're gonna go dance for the Virgin Mary, which is one of the
Oh,
biggest
okay.
things that
Hmm.
the that community does. And it's ironic because deep inside your heart you know about the history, but yet you're dancing for that for that religion. So you do find yourself at odds. But I love the community of those people so much that I'm willing to do what I have to do to be part of it, whether I agree or not. I want to still be part of it because I have so much love for that group of people, right? Or that community. So I can deal with it on my own and find peace because I know myself, but yeah, I have been asked and questioned, well, why, if you're so into indigenous, why are you dancing for the Virgin Mary? Or why are you doing,
Yeah.
and so you're just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
at
What
peace
was
with
your answer
myself.
when somebody asked?
Usually I tell them, look, I do it for the love of the community, right? It's my calling. If it's gonna get me closer to my ancestors, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? That's usually my answer. And people are like, "Oh, well, you're a hypocrite or whatever." I don't really listen to them,
Yeah.
but if
Block.
they want to learn, yeah, I'll just like, hey, I'll tell them about it.
Yeah, of
But
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the thing with when people try to everybody tries to bash everybody. I mean, this whole bashing culture. It's it's like, come on, dude. Like, do you have? Is that what you're going to do? Like on my platform, you're just going to really just talk negatively about this? Like, come on, I got, like you said, we have other lives
Right.
that we got to do. Like I don't
Yeah.
I can't spend hours on social media trying to fight with you
Right.
and show you.
Exactly. It's now if I was getting paid for social being on social media, then that'd be a different story.
It'd be a different story. We got to cash in on that one.
Yeah. There you go. It's all right. Yeah. Yeah.
How are you on time?
Um, I got all time, however time you need, man. I'm actually, like I said, I did what I had to do earlier, which was very important. But I'm glad that it worked out, and that I'm glad that you were able to accommodate for that. So, which I really do appreciate that very much. So
Yeah,
yeah,
anytime.
yeah, whatever you got, man. I'm okay.
So you first started on Instagram. So you've had this page for a long time.
Yeah, I actually first started on Facebook. To be honest with you.
Oh, okay.
Um, I started the group on Facebook because I wanted to bring a lot of the awareness of stories that weren't being told.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, Facebook is a little bit different in the sense that, um, you've got a lot of people that put things that are really not related to the subject. You can try to block it, or and it's not very it's a little bit difficult more to kind of have a certain control of it in a sense, but Facebook also has this a very political attachment, a lot of it, and so it's very hard to kind of like, okay, let's not post about this, but let's post about that. But then it just gets yeah. And then also you've got just people that just like to cause drama, and so you're like, oh god, you to filter out those people would take almost your whole lifetime because it's just too much, So in Facebook, I don't do a lot of the posting. I have friends that help me with it, but it's a little bit more I'm more active on Instagram and TikTok than I am in Facebook. But I do have Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, and so forth. But the following is not as big. But that's not because people are not interested. Because I haven't put a lot of work into it. Because I put more focus on Instagram. But I am planning to kind of grow in a sense where I am planning to put a lot more work in other forums and kind of study the how do you say the reactions and what people are are asking and so forth. Kind of what makes people react in a sense is what I'm looking at. I look at numbers. Because that's important as well. Even though that we're not, I'm not getting paid or anything for it, it's still important to do your homework. It's still important to do the diligence if you want to grow. You got to you got to understand the numbers. You got to understand how people react and so forth. And what audience are you trying to capture?
Exactly. It gets exhausting, like you have these ideas and then you do these ideas, but it's not just you have these ideas and you start to work on your content, but it just doesn't stop there. You still have to create it, you have to post it, you have to do the engagement, you have to go, like you were just saying, looking up all the statistics after the post and analyzing the reactions, interactions, and shares and comments. It
is exhausting. You're right.
But the payoff, I'm pretty sure, is where it needs to be, right? Like you see the work that you put into it. Like you see the effort that you put into it.
Yes, as far as that platform, particularly Instagram, it is where I actually was not expecting it to be at that level at this time, but I'm very I humbly accept it. But I do notice the work that I put in it has paid off because one of the things is having a platform like that is you also have to be conscious that you can't just put stuff out there just to get numbers or clouts. You have to have a certain level of honesty because people will check you, will fact check you, will put you on blast if the truth is not there. And then you spend your whole time trying to argue or trying to, that conflict of trying to prove why you did it. So you do have to do your homework, but, it's like I said, you do have to do your work, and I do my work. I try my best. If I'm gonna put something as a wow factor, I'm gonna look up the history, the research, and put it out there. Sometimes also I try to see what do people react to the most, and it's exhausting. Everything is exhausting. You're like, okay, one day they react to this, but the next day you're like, oh, they're really gonna like this, and you're like, oh, I only got like 10 likes. Oh, I wonder what happened there. You put all this work in there, and you're like, oh, well, So sometimes it can be like that. Sometimes you get good reviews. What I notice most is people react to emotions, stuff, humanity stuff, stories, um, you know, things that they can relate to. So one of the things that I do is I remember stuff that my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, and I'll be like, "Oh, Mexican moms say this," and it'll be something simple, and I post it, and I get like 800 likes because so many people relate to it.
Yeah.
And it could just be a meme, and it's because people relate to it, or the community relates to it. Oh yeah, my mom used to tell me that all the time, and and that gets a good review. Another thing that pictures get good reviews, good likes, but I think there's just so many pictures that people they just want to see something else sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so but one of the things I like doing, and I don't really pay attention to the numbers on that, is when I do lives with things that are very emotional,
Yeah.
because that to me is kind of a personal thing. So we just did a live a while ago about a soldier that was killed in the East Coast, of a family that lives here in California. They killed the gentleman and they beheaded him and they left him out in the ocean, in the beach. And there's a big investigation, but there's not a lot of how do you say, calling out from the community.
Yeah.
uh,
There's no publicity on
right,
this.
on this.
What?
and
Do you
and
remember what?
so
Do you remember what state it was?
I think it was either North Carolina or Rhode Island, something like that. Something, but I know the name of the soldier. Um,
What was his name?
and his name is Enrique Roman Martinez. Uh, Rest in peace.
Enrique Ramon Martinez. Fort
Roman.
Bragg soldier.
Roman. Yeah.
Fort Bragg soldier was decapitated. Oh my
Yeah.
god. A missing Fort Bragg soldier who disappeared from a camping trip with fellow troops on Memorial Day weekend, and whose partial remains washed ashore 10 days after he was reported missing, was decapitated.
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. This was in late last year. Oh my god.
Yeah. Right. So the live for that one, we did a live with the actual family of the
Oh,
soldier,
you did.
and yeah, it was a live with the family of the soldier, and the reporter who actually brought the story out to light. So we had a live with that, and it was a very emotional live. It very touching. You can feel the frustration and the sadness in the family. The reporter herself was very, troubled. We talked about all the inconsistencies of the investigation, and pretty much, what we could talk about. And it was just an exhausting life, but it was so worth it. And those are the lives that I honestly don't care if it has a high viewing or a low viewing. All I care is just getting the story out there. And simply because these are stories that are not being trended out. This is a Mexican family, I believe a Mexican family, I think, from California, and just like the Vanessa Guillen story, it didn't get trending until people actually started talking about it, protesting about it, and so forth. So, and those are the things that really, really, really get me going. Like I really try to connect with the people with that, because these are things that, like you said, they're not trending, they're not out there, people aren't knowing about it, and that's when I feel my platform is very useful. It's it's what I built it for those
Yeah.
kinds of things. There's a lot of stories that I've done live about people's whose sad stories are not told. So that's what I use the lives for. So it's exhausting, and it's sad, but at the same time it's needed. You know, needed.
Absolutely,
And
needed is one way to put it.
yeah,
That's awful, and thanks for, I mean, for sharing that, because now people that are listening to this podcast, even if they heard about it, if they didn't hear about it, now they do,
right,
and,
right.
and
No,
they
and
can
yeah,
have a
definitely.
chance. They can have a chance to go to your page and watch the live and actually listen to the family member of um,
Yeah.
of this
Yeah, and there's so
gentleman.
many, Gil. I mean, there's so
Yeah.
many. When we did that story, we started getting stories of other soldiers
Oh,
and Marines and
wow.
sailors, and we're like, what? What's going on here? No
Wow.
one's talking about these stories, and it's just like it's a whole nother thing that has not been like touched on, and now, like you said, now I gotta work and start working towards that and getting more information and stuff and like that. And at the same time, keep the content that I'm giving, putting it out there. So when you
Yeah.
said it's exhausting, you weren't lying. It's
No, it
exhausting,
is.
but it's really worth it, Gil. It's really
Oh
worth
yeah.
it. If like I said, I've said it before. I said
Yeah.
it before. Um, if we can help change one life, just one, then the platform has completed its mission. And that's what's important to me, is that we help change one life, even if it's just one, you know?
Yeah. Damn, that's what it's all about, right, Peter?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And that's why when you ask me what came about the state of mind, that's exactly what came about the state of mind, is
Yeah.
how can we make a difference, you know?
Yeah. Well, Peter,
Yeah.
you're on a mission with Chicano Chicana State of Mind. Uh, Thanks for doing this. Can you please tell everyone where we can find everything about what you're doing, about your community? And go ahead, take some time.
Definitely. So, first, I want to thank you very much, Gil, for reaching out. Like I said, I do apologize for fumbling around and all the things, but I'm glad that I was able to come through. I really do appreciate this. I'm very glad that you're part of our platform now, um, because it's now that you are following us as well. We follow you back. That, to me, you're part of that family now. You're part of a this platform is in together with this platform, so we're family. So I definitely appreciate you, appreciate your work, appreciate all your staff and everyone who's involved in your podcast. And yes, if people want to find out more about Chicano Chicana State of Mind, we are at Instagram, Chicano _Chicana State of Mind. I'm sorry, Chicano State of Mind _ in between state of mind on all those words. But if you go to that IG, you will find a link tree that gives you to the other platforms, and you can follow those as well. So I do appreciate the following. I do appreciate the feedback. We do try to comment or reply to the comments. And like I said, the likes are not taken for granted, only because we understand that people's time is valuable. So the fact that someone would like and comment on our platform is very much appreciated. Like I said, it gives us the drive to do more and to help out more and to just give the people what they want, which is the community, the community awareness. So definitely, thank you very much, Gil. I do appreciate this, and I hope that we can do this again.
Peter, that's exactly what I was gonna say right now. I'm like, we have to catch up in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
This was great. Like I had a really awesome time talking to you, learning new things, and learning a little bit more about your community. And yeah, like thanks for the invitation into your culture. Thanks for uh, giving me a different perspective on these topics, and I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And we have to come back again in the next couple of weeks. I'm excited. We have to do this again.
Definitely, Gil. Definitely. And Gil, just to let you know, if you do need a repost or if you need some kind of, hey, we're trying to get awareness for this or we're trying to get attention for this, hit me up. I will try to get my attention and repost it. I don't I don't charge for those kind of things.
Hmm.
Actually, I don't charge at all, to be honest with you, Gil. Simply because I didn't build the platform for that. I
Right.
don't know. Maybe who knows later on, maybe. But anytime you need anything, Gil, my platform is open for you. If you need any reposts or anything out there, let me know. I will gladly do it with an honor.
We can definitely talk offline about that, and I mean anything is appreciated. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. And Peter Cervantes, everybody, Chicano Chicana, state of mind. Peter, thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Okay, thank you. You have a good night and you take care of yourself. Okay.
You got it. All right, guys, that was
Okay,
another
buddy.
one. All the links to Peter's platforms will be down in the show description, and that was another one. I'll catch you guys on the next time. See ya.